Spy Kids, not adult kids, but spy kids, not clown kids, but spy kids. The Lucas and Zack podcast.
I like the one that the first thing you said was not adult kids. I don't know what adult kids are. I guess unless you're like 60 and you have your adult kids coming home. I guess that is a possibility. Welcome in,
I'll
folks.
go back to the writing process and rethink that line.
All right, good man. Welcome into our continuation of the spy movie, first movie openers. I still haven't really figured out how to say this. Continuation. We did Mission Impossible. We're doing Spy Kids this week. But before we jump all the way into the pool with a bunch of spy kids with weird gadgets that I am skeptical if they all work, let's do a little last Letterboxd movie. Zach Ford, do you have a last Letterboxd movie handy, or do you want me to go first?
I have no last Letterboxd movie. I never watched a movie before in my life except for Spy Kids.
Zach just watches Spy Kids nightly. It's his devotion.
I have my last Letterboxd. I watched Paprika. Criterion Channel had released a 36 film set of art house animation, which is just like international animation. That's all. Anything international is called art house in our country.
Well, it's because internationally they don't think every animated movie has to feature farting and like smacking each other with food products. So
yeah, well, that's half of Paprika. So. Anyways, I want to get through as much of that collection as possible. I'm not going to be daring enough to say I'm going to do it all, because then you can hold against me when I fail or give up. But definitely am going to try to explore that collection for a while, because a lot of interesting stuff, so I recommend it. Also, just watch the trailers on Criterion Channel. They release trailers for their series, and it's like 2 minutes of showing little scenes from each movie, and it's real fun. Makes me want to, pretty much is why I want to watch all these anime movies. But Paprika, what a batshit fucking movie. Just like pure chaos. I didn't realize, because I guess it's a common said thing on how much commonality there is with Inception. This is a movie by Satoshi Kon, released in 2007, about a machine that helps people go inside people's dreams, and they want to use this as therapy, as like psychiatric therapy, to go in their dreams and uncover deeper truths about people's selves. But like pretty much the plot begins with it being like hijacked by a bunch of people, and then kind of a conspiracy over them taking over other people's dreams, and all, the people with them working in the corporation, but just this melding of all these kind of dreams coming together. And it's just like beautiful chaos. It really just seems like Satoshi Kon just opened up his like dream book of drawings and just decided to release it all into one movie. It's really a playground for his art talent and ideas, which easily could, not make sense. And I think a lot of the film maybe doesn't, but it doesn't matter because it's also thrilling, everything that is occurring on screen. Highly recommend it, especially if you have enjoyment or high tolerance for chaos. Watching animated chaos is really unlike anything I've seen before.
So I'm definitely a fan of Satoshi Kon's work. I've seen Perfect Blue and Tokyo Godfathers, which are both really good. I definitely do want to check out
Tokyo Godfathers. Completely different.
Oh yeah, but I'm just like I find his direction and animation style just interesting. So yeah, definitely one I want to check out. One I have not. I do have to ask the question: is Paprika featured in the film at all? Because I'd say Paprika, like all-time great spice. It's quite good.
Wow. Yeah. Paprika, top tier Blue's Clues character as well. But no, it's a character's name, or like an alter ego to a character's name.
Okay. Fair enough. My last Letterboxd movie was 1984's Gremlins, directed by Joe Dante. The classic tale of a family who on Christmas get a lovable and enjoyable pet who suddenly becomes a horde of raging monster creatures. Yeah, Gremlins is really cool. It has a really good score. I really dig like the theme music every time you hear the Gremlins living together. I think the animatronic work is actually kind of great. Yeah, really just like a really fun, enjoyable story. I don't think saying that Gremlins is good is a particularly interesting take, so I won't spend a ton of time on it. But yeah, Gremlins is a fun movie. Good time, but had by all. One of those movies that like I'm just sort of surprised I had not seen up to this point because, it's one of those like everybody has seen Gremlins. It's just such a staple of the '80s. Kind of glad I caught up on it. Definitely a fun time. I also kind of want a Gremlin now. Not like the Gremlin. I want a Mogwai because they're kind of cute and seem kind of fun. Although the catastrophe that can occur if you do something wrong seems a little insane. So kind of scares you off. Gremlins, good movie. Zach Ford, have you seen Gremlins?
I like this new version of our show where you just say good or bad and we move on. We have nice 30-second long episodes.
It's Gremlins.
Gremlins, good movie. Let's go to the show, Spy Kids.
Yeah, I like if you give me a famous movie and I don't have a specific unique take on it, I feel like just saying Gremlins is good is probably the best version of that conversation.
I can't wait for a Casablanca episode. Casablanca, good movie.
Well, I have a lot of takes on Casablanca.
Okay. Do Rick not like Casablanca?
Rick screwed up. Should have stayed with the girl, kicked the dude to the curb. No, I'm kidding. Casablanca is a great movie, all-time great, top 100, amazing film. Not Casablanca. Let's jump ahead.
Sarah, what's your take on Gremlins? Damn it! I was trying to trick her to appearing on the show, and she whispered, "I have no opinion."
What's your take on Casablanca?
We saw it at the Music Box Theater on Valentine's Day, so she has seen it.
Nice.
We'll ask her that on their way back from the laundry room.
I like how you and I are recording a podcast. Your wife is doing like adult chores, and your version of helping with this is like, let's yell at her and see if we can distract her from doing stuff. It's a good time. Good time.
Anyways, Gremlins, good movie. I watched it a lot as a kid. Gremlins, cute. Not just the Mogwais. Gremlins also kind of cute. We need to appreciate reptilian.
No, let's not go there. They're not cute.
Yeah, I would hug one.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah,
it'd probably bite you, but they're
like lizards.
Do you like lizards? Are you a big lizards guy?
Yes, I love lizards. Yeah. Well, lizards are like bottom tier reptiles, but I still like them. But I'll take turtles, number one.
Wait,
for sure.
Do you have a tier system for all reptiles?
Yeah, just for each phylum of animal.
I'm a big fan of is those like Galapagos lizards, the ones that swim. I think those are really cool.
Yeah,
I truly that sounds. Yeah, I'm not trying to look this up as we're speaking because I want to sound less. Oh, the marine iguanas.
We can save this for our crossover series on Reptile Pod.
I mean, I think we've just discovered that you and me should do a commentary series for like David Attenborough or some nature.
You should just watch animal videos online and react.
I mean, I feel like we'd like to do this. You ever seen a marine iguana? Real cute.
No.
Great species. No. Yeah, good time.
Sounds great. I'm going to the zoo tomorrow. I'll keep an eye out for it.
Okay. I don't know if they have them.
They don't. I'm going to write angry comment letters in the box.
Be like, you promised me marine iguanas. Why didn't you show me marine iguanas?
This zoo is bullshit. You don't have marine iguanas. Why even exist?
All right. This sounds like a good time. Let's do, jump ahead to Spy Kids. Now, we don't have to talk about where Spy Kids come from because Spy Kids is a completely original film based on nothing. No, they're robots. Did you not see the film?
No, because they start the Spy Kid group at the end. And they're real humans that came from their mom's uteruses.
Hot take. They should have just let the robots do it. They were much better than the children.
Yeah, they just need to take the robots away from the evil minds, and it could be a useful tool.
Let's do a little plot. Let's do a little plot summary of this. You've been making me join in. Do you want to start this time with Spy Kids, and I'll jump in when needed?
Yeah. We had two kids, Alexa Vega and Mr. Megan Trainor. And they are getting a bedtime story from Mama Spy about, oh my gosh, who's the actress? Is it Carla Gugino? Or am I making that up?
Yeah, it's Carla Gugino.
Okay, her and Antonio Banderas. She tells the story about spies who fell in love, like this weird fairy tale, but it's about spies. And unknowingly to the kids, it's the true story of how her and Antonio Banderas fell in love, fucked, and had spy kids for babies. And eventually they get brought back into the spy game away from the families to search for active spies who have gone missing.
Mm-hmm.
And the spy kids, left on their own, decide that they're going to become the title Spy Kids and find their parents. And it all roots back to this children's show ran by Alan Cummings, where they're taking the spies and trying to transform them into their own like mind warped version of spies, but they keep fucking it up and they just turn out to be the Fooglies that they can only use for the kids show because they lose all their brain power and purpose. So it all goes back to there, but it turns out the real mastermind was Monk, and he was just trying to take over the world by creating spy kids and thumb robots and other things. It turns out spy kids come and save the day. I forgot everything else that happened. This movie exists in a dream.
Yeah, I would add more to that, but I think I watched all 4 Spy Kids movies in a row, and I think they've all kind of melded together.
Yeah, by the end, they start real Spy Kids.
Yeah, and then they do the second one, which is a better movie.
Me and you might be the only people that think that.
Yeah, there's weird hate for Spy Kids too, which I don't understand. So I'll just say this. Let's talk about this in the context. So the time you watch movies definitely impacts your view on them. Watching this for the first time as a 26-year-old, this movie is bad. It fails almost every single thing you would want from a spy movie. It's lazy, cheap, and just it looks like garbage. Like the movie looks terrible. I don't know. Like supposedly this movie cost $35 million. I'm so confused.
It's like early graphics and stuff because it's so heavy on it. You've seen graphics done well, but this is trying to be so like the whole movie is so.
It's not even just that. It's like even the shots where they're not doing graphics, they're not trying to do special effects. I think the movie just looks bad, even like when it's just scenes of people. Like the way they're shooting, I don't know, like a weird like filter. I was very confused.
We need a pause. Sarah, what's your thoughts on Casablanca? Wonderful. You're supposed to say it was a great experience holding your hand while watching on Valentine's Day. Okay, thank you.
We got one word. That's good. All right. Yeah, I was just confused when I was after watching this, looking up and realizing it cost $35 million. I was very confused where that money went. I mean, maybe the money went to like the 37 famous people they paid to show up in one scene of the film. That might have been the reason their budget was so high. But it just did not.
There's a lot of effects. It's just not done to what you like. I think it's a specific choice. I don't think it's just bad. I think that's because that's how all his kids' movies look. That's how not just Spy Kids, but also Shark Boy and Lava Girl and Shorts all have this like unreal visual style. I think to really like present this like escapist thing for kids because you're saying this movie is important when you watch it, which is 100% like you have to see this as a kid because it is made so directly for kids. This is not trying at all to be appealing to an adult or the parents.
No,
and I think the visual style is part of that. It's just supposed to be bright and active and not trying to look real because it's not trying to impress the adults. So I still think it's expensive. It's just not a style that you enjoy or want in your movies.
Well, I mean, I think it's a combination of. It's definitely not. I think it's some of it a choice, and I think some of it is just there. It does not look like they're trying to do the most high-end version of like even early 2000s CGI. This movie also, I think the biggest thing to me is that it really feels like that they made this movie like maybe too fast. Like it doesn't feel like they took a lot of time on it. It's such an interesting film because I feel like in some respects it does some really interesting stuff, and in other respects I'm just like I was unbelievably bored for much of it. And we can talk about the individual reasons, like why, as a spy movie, I find it really boring. One is just like, as an adult, I don't think this movie has anything for you unless you are able to sit there like you are and be like, I'm watching this at my current age, but I have the memories of watching this when I was a younger kid.
I think there's one thing that can be entertaining outside of that, and I'll let you finish though.
Oh, I think there's definitely stuff in the movie. I didn't like it, but I did not give it like I did not completely pan it like I gave some of the later films, like 3 and 4 are pretty terrible. Like I didn't crap on Spy Kids the way I would, knock Spy Kids 3 or Spy Kids 4. But yeah, I think just when you watch it is a big impact, and I think it's hard for the first time to watch this in your mid-20s and get anything but like a very mad to bad response.
I think sometimes I can be pretty open about when a movie I think has nothing left for me as I get older compared to when I was younger. And in a lesser extent, like Garden State was one of my favorite, like often I would state my favorite movie for a large part of my teenagehood. But as an adult, when I still like have a fondness for it, but it has gone down so much because I can still, be open to me as a changed person and what just doesn't hold up as well. And I see that with Spy Kids, but I still think that the weirdness of it all and just the guttiness to make this the like strange ass movie for the strange ass kids, I find very daring and impressive, and I think that's why I'm still able to get a positive review. If it wasn't for that, I probably would be able to make a complete change of mind from what I felt like I was a kid. But as an adult, I still find that exciting, that the Fooglies are scary ass shit. And I don't know like how this idea passed the studio audience and why they thought that would be like appropriate for kids. But I think sometimes we convert kids gloves still too much, and kids are strange and they like gross things, like weird things. This movie is being this gross, weird thing. Even the jokes are I don't want to say talking down the kids, but they're a specific kind of humor of insulted, like how you would hear people insult each other on the school playground. And I think that is a specific choice. They're making this to relate to kids' experiences, and those weird ass Fooglies and the thumb monsters come straight out of a kid's drawing book, the most warped ass kid in your 4th grade class, but they exist. And I feel like that is like Robert Rodriguez in a way, like bringing out his childhood sketchbooks and bringing this to reality. And because there's a real passion he has for not just Spy Kids, but twisted kids movies. He makes them unlike anybody else. He's made 5 kind of weird ass shit for kids. And it's almost like this didn't exist for him. Like there's weird ass shit movies, but not ones that can aim for kids' entertainment, that he wanted to bring that to that audience. So I think all that sort of ambition or like goal I still value, and that's probably why I still enjoy this movie.
Fair. I will counteract one of your points to say one of the biggest things for me is I don't find the Fooglies scary at all. Even for a kids movie, I think that they are very goofy and laughable as villains.
They're terrifying.
They
don't use them as monsters, just the design of them is terrifying.
I don't think they're that creepy. I genuinely think that there's much creepier stuff in other kids movies that is more effective. I think that's part of it, why it fails so completely for me, is that you have a spy movie where I never for 1 minute believe anyone is in danger. There never is weight to the entire mission, because even in the context of a kids movie, I just don't feel like that they're a threat to them at all. Like the entire actions of the spy family, there's like moments in the film where you're supposed to feel like, oh, will they be able to pull this off? And the answer is, in my mind, is always, of course they will. Like there's no way that they don't plant a seed of doubt in my head. Like, and this is not just in context to like adult movies. The Wizard of Oz is a movie that has the same rating, but is a film that genuinely, in that film, you wonder, are the flying monkeys going to screw this all up? There are films out there that are PG, that are G, that have believable and convincing villains that place an actual obstacle in the face of our heroes. And for me, Spy Kids, at least the initial one, just doesn't do that at all.
And maybe it's not terrifying, but they have different ideas with how to treat the villains than just being scary. Because I still find the arc of Alan Cummings' character like interesting and unique in a way that he's not, he's just in a way he's like the Mandarin was in Iron Man 3, just the kind of scapegoat villain for the true mastermind minion in the background that he really, all he was seeking was like attention, and all the like villain masterminding was just a attempt at trying to make his kids show the most popular thing on earth. And then when he gets to the climax of that character's arc, it's like honestly kind of devastating and sad in a way, in the weirdest way, that he kind of fell into this life of villainy because he just like starved attention, but he didn't really have the like heart or mind to go through with that. And it was a real like scene of failure. So I find that, works, so it doesn't matter if I'm like scared of the villains or find them believable and a real threat, because they're just a different layer of interest to it.
I mean, I like what Cumming is doing in the abstract. I don't think I think what he's doing is interesting to watch. I don't think necessarily narratively it adds much to the story. And like, it's not even that, like, I need the villains to be scary. I need the villains to seem like they're a credible like adversary, that there's a credible problem, that they might actually mess up the world that your heroes are supposed to be fixing. And to me, they just never convinced me of that fact. I just spend the entire movie being like,
captured all the spies that exist, and only kids are left to defend it.
Yeah, but even though
they're the only things left, all the spies are now evil and warped, and so there's nothing in between us and evil left. We have to recruit the children.
But all the scenes where they capture the spies are so goofy and stupid that they don't like. There's a scene at the end where they're like holding the parents supposedly hostage, but it literally looks like they're barely touching them. Like they're very sloppy and lazy at times with their physical action. And this is another thing for me that like just really kind of kills it, is that this is a spy movie and the action sequences are just not believable at all. They're so bad. They feel really lazy, and like they didn't even spend the time making sure that like you could tell that there's a scene actually going on. Like I'm not saying we need to have like the raid style action sequences with children spies, but you need to make it believable. The problem with this film is they throw punches, they throw kicks. They don't look like they ever hit anybody. They don't look like they ever would have a chance of causing damage. They don't look like they ever would impact anyone in any way. So the entire film just like, to me, I watch those scenes and I'm just bored out of my mind at some point. It's like, okay, I get where we're going. I get you just want to end the story in a positive way, but you've done nothing to convince me that your character should actually accomplish that. And in the process, you've just made this entire story just incredibly boring.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the action not being that interesting. I feel like that's where the creativity was lacking. All the creativity and imagination went to the world building and the character designs to me, but not the actual set pieces. The set pieces are fairly rote and just
very forgettable.
And I think the one part of the villainy that does, I think, get rid of any idea of threat is specifically Terry Hatcher. Whatever Terry Hatcher is doing is just so cartoonish and goofy that there's never anything believable how she would even be like in charge of this operation, because she just lacks like any competence at all. She's doing some weird, almost like Valley Girl turned adult performance that lacks any spy concept to it. It's the worst. She's the worst part of the movie to me by far.
She really felt like they were like, let's do a Bond movie, but we're gonna have the really stupid Bond girl be the villain rather than just like the side piece.
Be like in charge of a big part of the agency,
and you just don't believe it. You're like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. It's just too over the top goofy. Where I think like Tony Shalhoub is really goofy in his villainy, but I think still like in vibe with what the movie is doing.
Yeah, he's definitely like, he's fun. I'm stuck in a position where like I don't think the movie is good. I don't find it narratively be very interesting. The set pieces are bad and the villains are bad. I'm not going to sit here and hate on a lot of the performances. I think a lot of the adults are interesting and enjoyable.
Are you okay with a kid liking the movie?
Yeah, sure. I don't think this is bad for a kid. This is not there are movies you watch where like, even if a kid came to me and said they liked that movie, I would be concerned. Like they're really terrible. Like if a kid was like, man, I love the Emoji Movie, I'd be like, can your parents get you something better to watch? Like this is certainly not a movie I'm going to sit here and like get on a soapbox and scream about how children should not be watching this. I think
I find value for it being for kids. I say it's for the outsider kids, or maybe it's just allowing all our outside entertainment to be mainstream for kids. Which is good because it is just like bizarre, and there's just loud enough bizarre shit for kids who like that. So that's why I don't only think it's okay for kids like it, but like encourage them. You need to like embrace your wild side as a kid before it gets killed out of you as you grow up.
Yeah, I'm on board with it in concept. I just wish that like this movie was just better. Like, I wish it was produced better. I'm not saying make it more adult. I'm not saying make it so like adults are going to sit down and watch this. I just wish that like some of it just feels lazy. Like, it just looks crappy, and the actions like I just wish they'd taken a little bit longer, spent a little bit more money, and just made it a little bit better of a movie. Like, it feels frustrating. And then the entire franchise feels this way, where like every movie just feels like they had half a pitch and they shot it in 30 days. Like, they don't like. I think the interesting, like, Rodriguez clearly has like interesting ideas. I think the frustrating part is at times it just feels like he has interesting ideas, but he won't like take the time to make sure that he can execute them correctly, and it just feels like everything feels kind of rushed. Like, they're just like, come on, keep going. Even if they like, it's not. If it's
feel
not
like that's his style. I don't know if it's rushed. It's just like how he makes movies.
Here's the thing,
his movies and his tones do not exist in any idea of reality. They're in a way very comic booky.
But it's not even comic booky. It's that they feel sloppy. And like stuff that he's done better. Like, I've seen Alita Battle Angel, which I enjoyed as a movie more than this, but also just like it feels more. It can be kind of wacky and crazy, but they also feel like they fully produced the action sequence and they fully finished the VFX in some scene. Like, some of the stuff in this movie just feels like they were like, oh, we need to add 5 seconds. So they just threw a random thing. Like, so a lot of it just feels very random. Like, I feel like you can see the outline of what Rodriguez is trying to do with this, but there are also just like random stuff thrown in here and there that just doesn't fit as well. And I feel like if they had spent more time producing this, I think it could have been a tighter and better film.
Yeah. Would you be interested if instead of doing Spy Kids, he just took Carla Gugino and Antonio Banderas and made a series like Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Yes. Yes.
Like, they're basically the first scene if they put that into a whole movie.
Here's the thing.
And he took it more seriously.
I think that's actually one of the it's sort of a blessing and a curse, is that you cast these very talented actors as the parents. Now, the curse of this is the entire time I'm watching this movie, I'm like, okay, can we kick the children off screen and let Antonio Banderas be a spy? Because that's a way better movie than this. I've seen Mask of Zorro. I want Antonio Banderas to fight some people. That sounds like a way better movie.
Also would have been like insanely interesting project if he made a 2-movie set. And there were Spy Kids and Spy Adults, and the tones were completely different. And the one with Antonio Banderas is straight up like a 4 adults spy romance. So if that was the like prequel to Spy Kids was their love story, and he just completely shifted the tone. So that would be like some like fun shit.
Well, it's always interesting because it like, I think one of the things that's a little rough at times in Spy Kids is that Banderas and Gugino feels like they're in a different movie. Because that as the adult actors, they can't really exist in the world of Spy Kids. So you can't, like, they have to exist in a world where they were actual, real, legit spies, like out of a James Bond movie. But then they're thrusted; they have to play the parents in this really goofy, childish film. And at times, it's somewhat frustrating because it feels like they sort of waste them. Like, I feel like they could do a lot more, but they just feel.
I feel like you noticed their effort to like tone themselves down. You see them trying like, I can't make this like too sexy and too heated because it's not for the movie, and you just kind of sense that they're trying to level themselves out and kidify their performances.
There's definitely a couple moments in the film where you're like, is Antonio Banderas intentionally playing sort of impotent so it seems less sexy? Because like these two should be like hot as fire on screen. It would be so hot on screen. But it feels like, oh, he's kind of playing like he's an older guy and maybe his libido's a little bit down. And like just the way he has to play it. He has to play it because it's a kid's movie. He can't be this badass fighter dude. Even like the one spy sequence at the beginning of the film where you introduce him to spies is like a really weird sequence because it's like they do nothing to make that's impressive. Like, it's clear that they're great spies, but their entire spy thing is like walking up to each other and taking pictures out, or like, you know, using parachutes. Like, and none of it is like crazy or, you know, fight scene or stuff. But yeah, it's interesting because they just don't feel like the adults don't feel like they fit. The person who doesn't feel like they fit in this movie, who simultaneously feels like they don't fit at all in this movie and fits perfectly, is Danny Trejo. Is just such a weird casting choice because Danny Trejo should not be in. Is funny every time he's not in an R-rated film because he just looks like he should be in an R-rated film.
And they spin this off into hyper R-rated films, and I forgot that the character Machete is this character in this.
I didn't realize that till after it. I was like, I know he did some
They call
series
him
called
Uncle
Machete.
Machete.
No, I know they call it a movie. I didn't realize. Like, I knew Danny Trejo played a character named Machete and was in the Machete movies. And I knew he was called Machete in this. I did not realize that Robert Rodriguez had taken this random character, like the uncle, like who's like in like 2 scenes in the background of his film, and been like, yeah, he's going to go over and do like some, spy, like actual, like incredibly violent franchise. I'm like, oh, okay. I did not realize that.
I think that's important to know because those movies are so openly B movies and like purposefully dumb and cheaply made in a way that can connect to why Spy Kids made like this way. It's like he's making B movies for kids. It's like purposefully a little dumber and a little less looking like it was this grindhouse feature that you would put before the finer tuned kids movie in a way, and that's what that character dragged on. So it's probably always in his mind that kind of world of this collection of films, because I think I would assume Rodriguez sees a lot of connective tissues between. I think he could easily say that his worlds all exist in the same, or his movies all exist in the same world, and I think this specific world is all supposed to be kind of B movie trash because that's the kind of movies he loved. And maybe there's like, why are there not these for kids? Like, why are there not these Roger Corman kids movies?
See, that's the thing that makes it the weirdest is like, this is such a weird movie, not just because it spins off that, but because then it goes on to have 3 sequels. Rodriguez directs all of them.
Huge hit, right? How much did it make?
I can get you that number right now. It made 148 million on a $35 million budget. So that's definitely a good
2001. That's a huge hit.
Definitely, it's not a huge hit. There are definitely bigger hits that year, but like it's still a pretty good one, especially for a kids movie.
I'm looking at 2001 box office rankings. This is our new game. You got to guess where is it placed at the end of 2001.
I think it probably is back end of the top 10. That would be my guess, like 8 or 9.
I really have to do better at speaking and Googling. I just typed in 2001 rankings and expected to give me what I want.
2001 box office. Are we talking just domestic?
I just think Google should be able to learn that I'm always talking about movies. No matter what I type, refer back to a movie. All right. What do you think number 1 in 2001 was? Should be easy. If you're looking at it, I'm going to be pissed at you.
I did look it up, but I'm not actually seeing that piece of information. Right. 2001.
People who get upset about franchise and sequels, and we're all in the Marvel universe or Star Wars now, should be like, this is the oldest complaint in the book because in the top 14 movies, only one of them is not part of a franchise, and that's Pearl Harbor.
So it's 2001. It's probably a Lord of the Rings film or a Harry Potter film, right?
They are both in the top 10.
Okay, is one of them number 1?
Yes.
Is it Fellowship?
No, Fellowship's 10. 163 million. So what's number 1 then?
Then it must be Sorcerer's Stone.
But Fellowship only made, you're saying Spy Kids not a huge hit, only made 50 million more than Spy Kids.
Is that true? Is that really true? That's crazy. I never would have guessed that.
Number 1, Harry Potter and Sorcerer's Stone. Number 2, Shrek. So a few like first.
Oh, dude. Fellowship's Ring made nearly $900 million. You're talking about just in 2001. It comes out December 23rd. It makes that much. It makes that much money by the end of.
How much did it end up making?
Yeah, it's just the calendar. It made $897 million, but it only made 160
worldwide. I'm looking at domestic. I think.
No, you're looking about calendar gross year. Just in the year of 2001. So it made a bunch of money in 2002. Because if you go into 2000, so it comes out right at the end.
It's made 313 domestically. 800 is its global because there is a total. I didn't look at that. Total gross is 213 for domestic.
Yes, it's number 2 domestic of tours, but then there's they do the thing with the in-year release, so it's only the money that was made in 2001.
So it made 200 million more in Spy Kids. We get it.
No. Spy Kids 147 is just is worldwide.
Yes, it made 112. It just didn't do anything overseas.
That makes sense. Kids movies don't outside of Yeah, there's probably not great.
So 113 rounded up. Number right below it, The Princess Diaries. So 19th was Spy Kids. In between Dr. Dolittle 2 and The Princess Diaries. So kids movies. Bound up. Still, big hit.
But if you think about it in context, if you look at the overall list, like
Legally Blonde made less. And you think Legally Blonde was this huge hit. It probably didn't cost near as much. But still, it made $20 million less than this did.
It's certainly a successful film. Like, and probably a very successful film considering the budget. Yes, Legally Blonde cost about half as much as Spy Kids. But yeah, no, here's the crazy thing about this. So
The Lost Empire, Disney made $30 million less than this.
Yeah, but that was one of the major.
It's known as a failure.
It's one of the big bombs. Yeah, I'm a fan as well. So one of the craziest things. So it not only spawns Machete Kills, it spawns 3 more films. Rodriguez directs all 3 of them. Tell me the last time any director directed all 4 films in a franchise.
He made for a while.
And here's the thing, the weirdest part of it, right? So he does the first 3, which come out like every year, like one a year. And then he comes back in 2011 to do another one. Like most times that would have been a different director. And also these movies are filled with ridiculous.
But I think it only got made because he wanted to do it. Otherwise they're like, this isn't a franchise that needs to be rebirthed. It's just, that's what I want to do.
But also like talk about the crazy cast members in this franchise, the people who are in this. So we talked about Banderas and Gugino. George Clooney has like 1 cameo in this one and 1 cameo in 3.
Because he's basically like the Charlie, right, of Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
Or the end.
So Robert Patrick is in this. Mike Judge has like a cameo. The director, Tony Shalhoub, obviously is a role in this. Cheech Marin is like barely in a couple of them.
Then moving forward, you get Buscemi,
Ricardo Montalban, Bill Paxton, Sylvester Stallone, Selma Hayek, Elijah Wood. And then, obviously you get like Jessica Alba, Ricky Gervais, Jeremy Piven. Like this franchise has weirdly always been able to get.
Rodriguez seems pretty well connected, and like within him, people like he'll get friends to be in his movies. He
definitely gets a lot of people to play roles that are not worth their time if they were just auditioning for them.
Yeah,
because like if you're any of these famous people, you're like, yeah, I'm not going to go play 2 scenes in your Spy Kids film.
So even like Antonio Banderas being in that, he was like Rodriguez's guy. Like he owes his career to, Desperado and those movies.
I don't know. Zorro probably does a lot for him too.
Yes, but he got Zorro after doing the El Mariachi movies with Rodriguez. That's what they both started their careers kind of together. So this was almost like a favor for like, you did a lot for me. I'll come back and do your dumbass kids movie.
Yeah. Let's see. What else do we want to talk about with Spy Kids? I've kind of brought up my complaints about the film.
Yeah, I really want to know, anyone out there, if like you did watch as an adult for the first time, is there anyone that likes it? Like, could this exist for any adult to like on their first time? I know it has a huge cult fan base, but mostly those are the warped ass kids that I was talking about that have grown into adults. So I am interested in the adult fan base of Spy Kids.
Yeah, specifically,
does this movie have any? Does it even have enough of a cult audience to maintain itself as a cult film for kids moving forward? Is this going to pass through generations? I like this movie, but I don't really see myself playing it for Theo.
Honestly, I don't think Spy Kids is going to live past my generation, really, if we're being honest. I don't. I think
it's one of those totems of the early 2000s.
It really does feel like that. I can't remember the last time I heard of anyone who has kids or has younger siblings talking about them watching Spy Kids. I know they've tried to do stuff. They did the 2011 movie. They've tried to do,
I think they'll be into it because it is so directly to a universality of kidness.
I will say though, I do think the biggest problem for young children might be the same problem I have, which is that if you're a kid watching this today who's seen Star Wars and the MCU and major movies doing CGI, you're going to have a problem with the design and the quality of the VFX in this film. You're going to think it looks like trash.
You know what we should do? Ask Desire to show his 5-year-old.
100%. Let's be real. His 5-year-old has already seen Spy Kids. We already know this. Yeah. So it's tough to talk about. Like I'm not trying to be too much of a downer with this film because I understand why there's a fan base for it, but also just like watching it as an adult, it's real hard to have anything other than like this is just not good.
Yeah, and I was saying this off camera that there's kind of two different takes I've had of being on the opposite opinion of you, which is comparing this to my take on Girl, and the woman in the window. Damn it, Girl on the Train, woman in the window.
You got there. You got so close.
Okay, woman in the window that was one where I understood all your negative takes, but I also just thought they were good. I was like, no, what you think is bad is actually good.
You're the polar opposite of me.
It's like a reverse, and this is like I understand and agree with all your like negative takes, and it's all like completely correct. I just find a greater value in other aspects of the movie than you do. But the cheap looking visuals. I don't even want to say cheap. Once again, I think it's purposeful, but the visuals are aged. Outdated. I think yes, they. I would say the action was very mild and underwhelming, and the kids' tone, which I think is important, but is not make it fun for you to watch as an adult because it is kind of speaking down. But I find. I said the darkness designs I just am much more thrilled by. That's what changes my opinion.
Yeah. The action scenes are the ones that it's the ones I'm genuinely confused by because Rodriguez clearly knows how to direct action seeing his other work. And those are the ones I'm just like, is this like a performer problem? Is this a time problem? Is this a money? Because it's like some of those action sequences, there's a scene in the second film where they are fighting with swords and they are literally, the swords are just, you can clearly see them not touching each other. Like they're not parrying each other; they're parrying thin air, and it's just I was just very confused by some of these choices. I'm just like, how did you not have better quality control of this? I feel like you should have had better quality control to not have this happen.
Yeah.
Do you have any more thoughts on Spy Kids? Or do you want to wrap up?
No, but I appreciate you doing this for me because this is the one I pushed to do on the show.
Yeah, no, it was interesting to talk. I watched all 4 Spy Kids films.
I mean, it's a good comparison for the rest of the show because we're doing a lot of really modern spy action franchises, and all suited for adults, and there's some tone variance between the 4, but still to find how they can so drastically change the tone to make that kind of movie for kids. I just wanted that interesting comparison, so that's why I find it important to this.
It is interesting. It's a good comparison. It also is good to show it's interesting to watch this and watch Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible has a lot of goofy spy gadgets and stuff, but they kind of have figured out how to make it work for an adult audience in a way that seems really thrilling. And they also just do a better job producing set pieces and action sequences in a way that you find thrilling and interesting. I will say I'm going to give a quick Spy Kids ranking of because I watched all 4 of these things.
I actually have never seen the 4th one because
it's atrocious. It is so bad. So that's last. Spy Kids All the Time in the World is terrible. My number 3 is Spy Kids 3D Game Over. I will say my biggest funny thing with this is the only movie I've ever seen where Sylvester Stallone is actually understandable. He really doesn't have the problem where he sounds like he has marble mouth in every film. I don't know what was going on, but he was actually you could actually understand him in this film.
That's what he thinks his finest acting work is. That's what it's like Rocky and Spy Kids 3D. My greatest films will be remembered for.
Probably. And then my number 2 would be Spy Kids, which I didn't like as well. And the one film in the franchise I did enjoy was Spy Kids 2, The Island of Lost Dreams.
It's Steve Buscemi doing weird shit.
Steve Buscemi is good. I kind of like the actual other Spy Kids, the bad Spy Kids, is an interesting comparison. I think that's always kind of that's a good spy trope, taking advantage of the good spy and the bad spy. So that kind of fit more into what I enjoy about the genre. Yeah, and also Steve Buscemi is fun. The island is fun. That was more interesting to me, the ridiculous island where I've made all these small models, giant, and that to me was interesting in a way that I didn't find other stuff in the franchise interesting. Do you have rankings, Zach? Do you have you seen the other Spy Kids?
2 and 1. I don't remember much about 3D. Is Bill Paxton in that one?
He's in 2 and 3.
Does he say Game Over and Spy Kids Game Over?
He might.
Does he go aliens?
I think he literally might.
That's one of the worst lines in all of movie history, and anyone who likes that, you need to figure your life out. But I still kind of hope it happens in Spy Kids 3D.
It probably does, because they are anything if not just taking the obvious joke.
Yeah, I haven't seen Spy Kids 2 since I was 13, but I loved it then.
All right. Yeah, I can see that. It's actually kind of fun. even as an adult watching. With that being said, thank you everyone for watching, for enjoying our discussion of Spy Kids. We will be back next week to talk about The Bourne Identity. And you should probably see a Black Widow review in between this episode and the Bourne Identity episode. So we hope you enjoy that. That's the reason we wanted to do Spies in the first place, because you got this huge movie, Black Widow, coming out that should be really interesting to talk about, not only as a movie, but like, man, you made a Black Widow movie after the character's dead in the universe. There's certainly a lot of stuff a lot of interesting questions and things that can be debated related to that film. Like, do we even need a spy? Do we need a Black Widow movie? And if we needed a Black Widow movie, did we need it after the point which the character is irrelevant to the universe? Certainly.
You know what we really need is a Black Widow movie about the spider, a horror movie. And we'll discuss that in our animal reaction pod, but we'll have to do some Black Widow stuff too. There should have been a Black Widow horror movie. How's that not a thing? Like,
I'm sure there was definitely a spider movie somewhere.
Well, it's like arachnophobia and shit, but about like one monster spider's not like the Aragog's spin-off movie.
The Aragog spin-off movie. Thank God they never tried to make that, although it probably could not be worse than those kind of
eat that shit up. I want to watch it so bad.
This would be better than the Fantastic Beasts films. All right, folks, we will see you next week. Peace out.